Jonah and the Big Fish. One day, God asked a man named Jonah to go to a place called Nineveh and tell the people living there to stop being bad. The only problem was that Jonah didn't want to help the people there. He knew they were bad and he wanted them to be punished for their mistakes. So instead of listening to God, Jonah thought he would run away from Nineveh and not to do what God asked him. He ran to the sea where he found a ship that was going to another city. He paid the captain, went in the lower part of the boat, and went to sleep. Shortly after the boat left the shore, a very bad storm came up and started tossing the boat around. All the men were very afraid, so they started to throw all their packages and bags overboard, in hopes that they wouldn't drown. The captain soon went to find Jonah, who was still sound asleep in the boat. He said to Jonah, "How can you sleep? Get up and pray to your God. Maybe He can help us." The captain didn't realize that Jonah didn't just believe in any God, but the one true God, and that He could help them. Meanwhile, the other sailors decided that the storm was Jonah's fault. He must have done something wrong to make his God so angry. So they asked Jonah, "What have you done? What God do you believe in? What can we do to make this storm stop?" Jonah told them, "I believe in the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land. And I am running away from something God asked me to do. It is my fault this is happening. If you throw me into the sea, the storm will stop." The men didn't want to hurt Jonah by throwing him off the boat, so they tried to row the best they could. But the storm just got worse. So they picked up Jonah and threw him into the sea. The storm immediately calmed and the sea became still. The men on the boat realized that Jonah believed in the one true God and prayed to Him. And the captain and the crew looked out to sea as a huge fish came and swallowed up Jonah. God actually sent the fish to keep Jonah from drowning. Jonah stayed in the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. Just think for a second what it would be like to be inside a fish. There are no windows and lots of strange things floating around that you can see because it's so dark. Jonah probably didn't know if he could ever see daylight again. While Jonah was trapped inside the fish, he did a lot of praying to God. He asked God to forgive him for running away. He also thanked God for not allowing him to drown. After the 3rd day, God told the fish to spit Jonah out onto dry land, and the fish did just that. Then the Lord told Jonah a 2nd time to go to Nineveh and tell the people there to stop being bad. This time, Jonah obeyed God and left for Nineveh right away. When Jonah got there, he told the people what had happened to him. He warned them that God said that they should stop doing bad things, or in 40 days the city and everything in it will be destroyed. To Jonah's surprise, the people listened to him and they prayed to God. Soon, the king of Nineveh heard what was going on, and he ordered that everyone to listen to God and to stop doing bad things. And when God saw that they were trying to do good instead of bad, He felt love for them and did not destroy their city. And that's a parable story of Jonah and the big fish. Cain and Abel. Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, "With the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man." Later, she gave birth to his brother Abel. Now, Abel kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering fat portion from some of the firstborn of his flock. Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering. But on Cain and his offering, he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I don't know," he replied. "Am I my brother's keeper?" The Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be restless wanderer on the earth." Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." But the Lord said to him, "Not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain, so that no one who would find him would kill him. So Cain went out from the Lord's presence and lived in the land of Nod, east of Eden. And that's the parable story of Cain and Abel. David and Goliath. There was a war in the land of Israel. King Saul and the Israelites were fighting the Philistines. One of the Philistines was a giant. His name was Goliath. He was very big and strong. The Israelites were afraid of him. Goliath shouted to the Israelites. He told them to choose a man to fight him. No one wanted to fight the giant. Goliath shouted to them every morning and every night for 40 days. None of the Israelites would fight him. David's brothers were in the Israelite army. Jesse sent David to take some food to them. David saw the giant. He heard Goliath shouting. He saw that the men were afraid of Goliath. David said he would fight the giant. His brothers were angry. They said David should be taking care of the sheep. David knew God would help him. He picked up 5 stones. He took his sling and went to fight Goliath. Goliath saw that David was young. He was angry. He shouted at David and made fun of him. David shouted back. He said God would help him kill Goliath. Goliath came at David to fight. Then David put a stone in his sling and threw the stone. The stone hit Goliath in the head. Goliath fell to the ground. David took Goliath's sword and cut off his head. The Philistines saw David kill Goliath. They were afraid and ran away. God had helped David kill the giant. And that's a parable story of David and Goliath. The parable of the unforgiving servant. Peter had a question for Jesus about forgiveness. Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother when he sins against me? Up to 7 times? Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. He told the parable to explain. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had be sold to repay the debt. The servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient with me, he begged, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go. But when that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. He grabbed him and began to choke him. Pay back what you owe me, he demanded. His fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, Be patient with me, and I will pay it back. But he refused. Instead, he went off and had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged and went and told their master everything that had happened. Then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said. I canceled all that debt of yours because you begged me. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on me? In anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all he owed. This is how my heavenly Father will treat each of you, unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart. And that's the story of the parable of the unforgiving servant. Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve lived in the Garden of Eden. God and Jesus came and talked to them. There were many trees in the garden. God said Adam and Eve could eat fruit from all the trees, but one. It was the tree of good and evil. If they ate fruit from that tree, they would know what was good and what was bad. they would have to leave the Garden of Eden. If they did not eat it, they could always stay in the Garden of Eden. God said they could choose. One day, Satan, the devil, came to the Garden of Eden, disguised like a serpent. He told Eve she should eat the fruit of the tree of the good and evil. Eve said God had told her and Adam not to eat it. Satan said the fruit was very good. He told Eve it would make her wise. She would know good and evil. Eve chose to eat the fruit. Eve told Adam she had eaten the fruit. She would have to leave the garden. She gave Adam some of the fruit. Adam ate it. God came to see Adam and Eve. They had not obeyed God. They were afraid. They ran and hid. God talked to Adam and Eve. He asked if they had eaten the fruit of good and evil. They said Satan told them to eat it, so they ate the fruit. God told Adam and Eve they must leave the Garden of Eden. They could not live there anymore. Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden. And that's a parable story of Adam and Eve.